On December 1st, 2015, Just Cause 3 released. At the time, I don't think I even knew it existed, so I didn't play right away. I bought the game on June 1st, 2018, 2.5 years after it came out. I bought the game and all of the DLC for $8. I loved this game. It was so fun to fly around Medici and blow stuff up. I managed to play the game for 80 hours and I liberated every settlement and city in the game. The DLC were great, especially the Sky Fortress one because it gave you the laser machine gun and the Bavarian wingsuit which lets you fly forever. Also, there was a really funny free multiplayer mod. I have 16 hours on that alone. My friends and I would just hijack planes and then crash them into buildings. Like normal people. I didn't play Just Cause 3 on release. I played it 2.5 years later, but that allowed me to have a more complete experience with the game. I got to enjoy the DLC and the mods, neither of which were available on release. I also got to enjoy a bug-free and more stable version of the game. All of the bugs that were there on day one had been fixed by the time I got to play in it. And to top it all off, I got all of this for $8 instead of paying full price when the game came out. If you take a step back, playing immediately on release seems like the worst time to play a game. So yeah, this video was inspired by Starfield. I originally had a really long paragraph here where I talked about all of the quarrels I had with the game. At some point I'll make a video on the second channel giving my thoughts about Starfield, but for now I will give you a simple overview. The game was boring as hell, and it was so poorly optimized. The game ran terribly on my PC even though I met the recommended specs.
Big question from many. Why did you not optimize this game for PC?
We did.
Oh, okay, Todd, yeah, you're right. Oh, it's my fault. Fuck you. The world was dull and empty, and I wasn't having fun, so I dropped the game. Luckily, I played on Game Pass, so I didn't pay for Starfield. If I paid full price, I would be devastated. Look at this. Why does it cost so much? I thought to myself, why did I bother playing now? I could play in a couple of years after they fixed everything, and I would have a better experience. So why do we bother playing games on release? I think that the biggest and most obvious reason is hype. If you've been excited about a game years before it even releases, chances are you want to play that game right away. If you watched a trailer 5 years ago and have been excited ever since, that hype will grow and grow as the release date gets ever closer. Of course you want to play straight away, you've been waiting for years already. Why would you want to wait any longer? Even though you don't actually know what the game is like, you think you know what the game is like. The point of the marketing is to give you a little itty-bitty whittle taste of the game's world, mechanics, and overall feel, which in turn make you want to buy the game. But truly, you haven't seen any real footage. You've only seen tiny hand-picked segments that they want to show you. The trailers look like this. So of course, everybody wants to play it on release. But then the real game ends up looking like this. Hype and marketing cloud your judgment, and they're probably the biggest cause for people wanting to play a game as soon as it comes out. Another reason for playing on release is that you get this sense of community from playing with everybody at the same time. Even in a single player game, playing on launch puts you in this group with thousands or millions of people who are all doing the same thing that you are. Everybody is trying out the game for the first time. People haven't found the strongest weapons in the game. You can look on any social media during the weeks after launch and look at what other people are doing. Last year I enjoyed having this experience with Elden Ring and Neon White. When Neon White released, the leaderboards were fresh and empty. Nobody had figured out the meta or how to break each level. As a community, everyone found out the best ways to speedrun. When Elden Ring released, millions of players were dumped into the lands between, this massive, sprawling world that everyone got to discover at the same time. It was fun looking online during that time and finding out what people had discovered. I think this sense of community connects to a similar reason why people feel they have to play a game right after it comes out. People want to stay in the know. They want to stay in touch with pop culture and also avoid spoilers, meaning they have to play every new AAA release that comes out, or else they would be lame. There are always going to be more movies, TV shows, and games coming out, but it's impossible to keep up with it all. You shouldn't try to. You can't consume every piece of media there is. And if you can, then please, go outside. One topic that I haven't talked about yet is multiplayer games. Obviously, playing these on release is the best time to do it. It's when the population of the game is probably the highest, and it's when the community is the most active. There is a feeling that if you start playing later, you'll be behind, that everyone will have figured out the meta and be leagues above your skill level. Also, multiplayer games seem to be dying faster and faster nowadays, so you want to get in there as soon as you can while it's still relevant. In this video though, I'm basically just talking about single player games. With all these thoughts of Starfield in my head, I was reminded of a similar experience I had 3 years prior. Cyberpunk 2077. A tale as old as time. I was looking forward to the game and I played it the day it came out. I played the game for 28 hours and I liked it, but the performance issues were too much to bear, so I dropped it. Now, 3 years later, the game is in a much more playable state than before, and they're about to release Update 2.0 and the DLC. I should have bought the game in 2023 for 50% off. Cyberpunk 2077 is one of many examples of games that are better to play after release. Especially nowadays, games seem to release in a terrible state. It could be because of rough deadlines, or maybe the higher-ups at the company don't really care about releasing a polished product. In any case, every AAA game I can think of in recent years has launched with a variety of massive bugs, lagginess, and people complaining about crashes. It's just par for the course with any game release, you can expect it. But most of these issues will be fixed retroactively by the developers. If you play after all of these patches come out, you don't have to worry at all about the game breaking. Everybody who played on release got to complain about all of the issues, but now you have a bug-free experience. And it's not just bug-fixing patches, there may have been other updates too that add more content to the game. New weapons, bosses, places to go. There may have been some updates with quality of life features. Small things that just make the game more playable and an overall better experience. And of course, if there was any DLC that came out, you can play that straight away, instead of having to come back to the game half a year later, relearning all the controls and re-remembering the main story. You can play the main game and the DLC back to back. One reason that a lot of people play older games is that they don't have a machine which can run the latest games. Not everybody has an $8,000 PC with RGB water cooling and a 5090 Ti. By playing games which are 5 or 7 years old, these gamers can stay just a bit behind the new releases and get a steady frame rate on everything. It also means they don't have to buy the flashiest and most expensive parts for their PC, or buy the latest console as soon as it comes out. And then the biggest reason for playing a game a while after its release is that it'll be way cheaper. AAA games usually go on sale just a few months after they come out. After 6 months or a year, they could be 50% off. And if you wait like 5 years, they will be discounted 80 or 90%. They will be so cheap that you'd feel stupid for paying full price. One example that comes to mind is Shadow of the Tomb Raider from 2018. Just 1 month after release, it was discounted by 34%. Obviously, all of the people who pre-ordered the game, myself included, were not super happy. But let this be a lesson to you all. You don't need to buy games at full price, they will always go on sale eventually. And hey, I'm not saying that I'm some super duper smart guy who never plays games on release, because I do. 2023 has had a crazy release schedule. There have been so many games coming out that I want to play. Of course, I haven't been able to play all of these yet because there are just too many. But I did play some of these games as soon as they came out. A few of them were disappointing and it did make me wish that I played them later. Overall, if you wait to play a game, you get the best version of it. The game will have the least bugs, it will have the most content, including any DLC or mods. It will run better on your system. And you get all of this for the cheapest price. Games typically don't get worse over time. You don't have to play something straight away. There are games which are 10, 20, or 30 years old and still fun. So maybe think twice before picking up Starfield. It'll still be there in a few years if you want to try it later. If you want to hear me talk some more about video games in the future, then consider subscribing. Thank you for watching.